Hello. Yes, at some point of time I have browsed through all of these videos covering the drag and drop feature in Ruby on Rails, and in this episode I will hope to make something even better. So the first place I think of when I think of drag and drop is Trello. It has a seamless feature, and it's actually the core feature of drag and dropping lists and tasks within a list or between different lists. And I think it's the most common way of using a drag and drop kind of feature. So drag and drop tasks between lists and tasks within a list and lists within each other. So this is the kind of functionality that we are going to build now. And here is the more or less demo of what we are actually going to build. So you see I have a few lists, and we can move elements within one list. And you see if I refresh the page, they are stored. I can move elements between lists, and you see I refresh and everything is stored, and I can change the order of the lists. So you see I refresh the page and they are stored. And yeah, this is what we are going to build in a new Ruby on Rails application. And I'm going to start with a new Rails app that I have just created. Let me go to code and open it. Okay, so this is a new Rails app. There is literally nothing here. Empty roots, empty schema, nothing yet. So we are going to start by adding a scaffold of lists. So let's say Rails generates scaffold list, and the list will have a name. Let's Rails db migrate, and let's save our changes. Git add all, git commit main, create lists. Okay, and now we are going to scaffold tasks. So you see these lists, and each of the lists can have tasks. So we will say Rails generate scaffold task. A task will have a name, and a task belongs to list. So list references. Okay, Rails db migrate, git add all, git commit main, scaffold tasks. Okay, and now we're going to add the associations. So list RB has many tasks. Task belongs to list, and we will also add validation for name. So validates name, presence, true for both of them. Okay, and now I'm not going to focus on actually manually creating lists or tasks. Let me add them in the seeds. So I will say list equals list.create name to do. We'll do it 3 times. We'll have list with to do in progress and done. And inside the to-do list, we will create a few tasks. We will say list.tasks.create. Name will be record a video, walk my dog, kiss my wife, and let's say like drink coffee. Okay, let me seed these lists and tasks. Let's say Rails db seed, and let's see if the data has actually been added. Let's say list.all and task.all. Okay, so these have been added. Now we can save our changes. Git add all, git commit main, associations, validations, and seeds. Okay, let's start our server, Rails S, and have a look at the new app that we have just created. So let's go to /lists, and here we have our lists. Let's display the tasks inside of each list. So we have the list partial that has been generated, and inside this list partial we can have a list of tasks. So we can actually say equals at list.tasks.each do task, and we are going to render a partial render task. Let's see if it works. Undefined method tasks for list. Okay, maybe I should just have list like this. Okay, and we have the tasks rendered. Let's just remove the list ID because it is irrelevant here. We already know what list it belongs to. Okay, we'll say task. Okay, and going back here, I don't need the equal sign here. So yeah, we have the list with a name to do. Let's say list to do, and a list of tasks. Let's also remove this show links. I will go to the index action and remove the stuff that we don't need. Yeah. Okay, so we have a list and a list of tasks inside of each list. And we are going to actually make this look as a list of elements. So in HTML, we have UL for unstyled list, and each element would be a list element. So like this, UL and LI. And you see, this is a list and these are elements inside of the list. And also, so going back to our list partial, here, these are also each going to be a list. So we'll have li, yeah, more or less like this. And refreshing, and okay, you see, we have our lists and we have tasks nested inside our list. So this is like a list with nested elements. Okay, looks quite okay. Let's save our changes. Let's go to git status. What have we done? We have just added this kind of list styling and display our tasks within our list. So git add all, git commit message, display tasks inside lists. Okay, get status, yeah, I have done the commit. And now let's see, we want to be able to sort them. Now I have actually looked at the stimulus component for sortable, and I have previously tried using it, but I had a few issues with making it work, and yeah, it didn't work really well for me. So we are going to do it without using stimulus sortable. We are going to install the SortableJS library directly into our application. So here I've actually got the docs for sortable, and in my application I'm using import maps. So import map.rb is the file where we're going to have all the JavaScript dependencies, and we will need to install Sortable.js. Let's see how it is done with something like npm. So it is just Sortable.js, I guess. So I'm going to say .bin/import map bin, and the name is going to be I think Sortable.js. Do we have, yeah, let's have a look at the name in npm. Yeah, it is just Sortable.js. In npm it says install Sortable.js. Yeah, so we are just going to say import map bin Sortable.js. Maybe it should be bin rails. Let's see. Let's see how I did it previously. I seem to have forgotten. Yeah, bin import map bin. Okay, that's what I have forgotten. So bin import map bin Sortable.js. And it adds this Sortable.js dependency to our import map file. Okay, now we are going to create a stimulus controller to be able to interact with it. So I will say Rails generate stimulus sortable. Let's go to the newly generated sortable controller, and here we are going to import sortable. Let's see how it can be done. So we are going to have this line. After we import the controller, we are going to import sortable, and we are going to say that we are going to create a new sortable object. So sortable create element. Let's say on connect, we're going to say sortable.create, and I will say this.element. And then we will have some kind of different params of the sortable that we can add. So let's see if we can initialize the sortable controller with the sortable element. I will go to our index page of lists, and here on the list level, I will say data controller sortable. Now let me go back to our app and see if it works. Okay, Rails server. And will the sorting work? You see, now I can actually sort these elements. But nothing happens, so like the changes are not persisted, but I can already sort these lists, so it is already some good progress. So let me actually maybe save our changes, git status, git add all, git commit main, install Sortable.js. Yeah, I'm just going to do like this micro commit so that you can easily follow each step by step. Okay, we have installed Sortable. Now we need a way to know the order of each element. So to be able to know the order of each element, if you look at the docs, for example, for stimulus component Sortable, it will suggest you to install the acts as list gem, but I know that there is a better gem that is named RankedModel that is actually considered an acts as sortable or acts as list replacement. And if you look deeper into the docs of this gem, it will be explained why it is better than using acts as sortable or acts as list. So we are going to install the gem RankedModel now into our application. I will say bundle add RankedModel. And now we are going to go to our models for our list and for our task. So list.rb. And here we are going to add include RankedModel and rank row order and something similar inside task. But you see, a task should have a rank within a list. So we'll say with same list ID with same list ID. And this is important because this is like a nested list inside of another list. Okay, and now to be able to actually store the row order of a task or a list, we are going to add a migration. So we are going to say Rails generate migration add row order to lists and tasks row order integer. Let's add this migration to the console, and let's see, add the row order. So you see it didn't do it very nicely, so we're going to add it to lists and to tasks. And initially I would have maybe thought that by default it should be 0 and null false, but the documentation says that it should allow null values. Somewhere it does say so. Yeah, it is important that it should allow null values. Okay, let's add the migration. So Rails db migrate. And now we are going to also say that we are going to order the elements not by created at, not by name, but by the row order. So let's go to our lists controller, and here we will say list.rank row order. Let's see if this would actually work in the console. I will start the console. Yeah, so we have them ranked, but you see by default the row order is nil. So next we're going to of course work on updating the row order. So we are ranking the lists, and if we go to a unique list, we would also want to rank the tasks inside of each list. So I'm going to add the same rank row order for the tasks within a list. Okay, let's see. I will just start the server, And yeah, we have added the kind of this row order. We can maybe also display it for each task and list. Let's go to list and let's also display row order. And yeah, at the moment it is nil, and we're going to also display it for our tasks. Okay, task row order. At the moment they are nil, but later on we're going to have them updated. So we have done the basics of installing the gem ranked model, and now we need a way to actually update the order of the lists, or maybe of the tasks within a list, or tasks that can move between lists. So how can we do it? Let's go back to our stimulus controller. So we have this sortable controller, and we will want to know what is the new index position of the element in the list where we moved it. I go here and let's see how we can do it. So if I go to the docs of Sortable.js, maybe I can have a look at the examples here. There should be some kind of action like new index. Yeah, so on end, and on end we can get the new index of an element. Let's see if this would work for us. So we would have a function named on end. We would pass in an event, and here we would say like console.log event, and it would be new index. Okay, and inside the sortable, I think we will have to also say that on end we are going to get this on end action. So from sortable on end function, we are going to pass to this like kind of stimulus controller action. So we'll say on end this dot on end dot bind this. Okay, and let's see if we actually log something inside our console. So going back to our app, I will click on inspect console, I will refresh, and I'm trying to move the row order position from 0 to 2. And you see it moved to 2. So like the order starts from 0 and it's like index is either 0 or 1 or 2. I'm going to try to move the item from index 0 to index 1. And yeah, it's worked. Now from index 2 to index 0, and it worked. So we can log the new position of the element. It works fine. Now what do we need? We need to also get the ID of the element that is being moved. So how can we do this? I would go back to the list and yeah, to the index page where we initialize the controller action, and I would need to, I guess, pass the ID of the element that is being moved. So how can I do this? Maybe I can say data, for example, sortable ID equals list.id. Now let's make it work in Ruby code and see if we can fetch the ID of the element that is being changed inside our JS. So let's try logging not only the event new index, but let's try logging the event dot item that is being moved. So let's move like the in progress one and put it to done. And you see we are moving the item with sortable ID 2. Now let's move like this one. We are moving the item with sortable ID 1. Okay, so let's say item dot dataset, and what do we get now? I will move this item, and we can get the sortable ID dot sortable ID. So now we kind of know the ID of the element that we are trying to move. Just to be sure, let's also display the ID. We will say list.id. So now I'm going to try to move the element with ID 3. And you see I have moved the element with ID 3, so it seems to be working. Okay, we have the ID of the element that we are moving, and we know where we are moving the element. So we can kind of already update the position with a Ruby on Rails controller. But how can we pass this update action to a Rails controller? Well, for this we're going to use RequestJS. So it is a library that can kind of make a request from a stimulus controller to a Rails action. So let's install RequestJS. Yeah. How do I do it with import maps? Let's see. Bin import map pin Rails RequestJS. Okay, I might first need to, yeah, I think the docs will be here in RequestJS Rails gem. Okay, this will be even easier. I will say bundle add RequestJS Rails. Now I will say, yeah, I've already done bundle install by saying bundle add, and I will say Rails RequestJS install. So it added something to app JavaScript application.js. Yeah, here it says that we are using RequestJS across all of our, well, JavaScript. Looks good. And now we're going to try to make a request to a Rails controller action from this JavaScript action. So on end, we're going to try to make a request to our Rails controller. Let's go back and see in the docs, we can import different types of requests. So for this case, I think we're going to import just the put. Okay. And on end, we know the new index of the element, we know the sortable ID. So we are going to try to make a put request. We are going to say put, then we're going to have a URL like slash lists slash ID. Let's try passing in the ID with JavaScript. So I'll have a $, and I will say event dot yeah, all this URL and slash sort. Okay, and next I'm going to say, yeah, we've got the URL, we're going to add some kind of params. So I will say body equals JSON.stringify, and inside we will have row order position. Why do I get this row order position? If we go to the docs of RankedModel, row order position is the update param for our row order. It should be row order position, not row order that we are updating. This is also very important. So row order position is going to be the event new index, and well, the ID is already here inside our URL, so we don't need to pass the ID once again. Let's see if this works. We would first need to also add this URL as available. So I will go to our roots, and inside lists I will say do member do and put sort, and inside our lists controller I will add the sort action, so def sort, and let's put a debugger here and see if we hit our debugger from our StimulusJS controller, from this put action. So I will start the Rails server and go to our app. I'm going to try to do some sorting, and yes, you see, we made a request with RequestJS to our Ruby on Rails controller. Let's have a look at our params. So we have our row order position, we have our ID, so we can actually say, let's go to our list controller and say at list equals list dot find params ID. Let's see if it works. Yeah, at list, you see, we found the list, and let's go back to params and see. We're going to say list dot update, and we are going to say row order position is going to be updated with params row order position. And let's see what it gives us. I will stop the debugger. I will continue. Okay, no template found, rendering had no content. So we are going to also add the had no content here. And let's see. So I'm going to try to now actually make it work. I'm going to move the list here, and you see there seems to have been a successful update action. Let me go to the console and see list.all, and the row order, has it been updated? Yeah, actually for this one it has been updated. The ID 3 has the row order of 0, so it has been updated. Let's go back and yeah, quit Rails server. So you see the row order position has been set to 0. I'll update once again, it is 0. I will move the to do to be first. I refresh, and you see it has been stored. And now I can refresh my page and the row order position is kept. I will try moving this one. I will refresh, it is kept. I'll again try to reshuffle. First I have 1, then I have 3, then I have 2. Yeah, let's make it 1, 2, and 3. I refresh, and you see all my changes have been saved. So I successfully can update the row order position of this list. Looks quite good. Let's save our changes. Git status, git add all, git commit main, ranked order gem, RequestJS, and update list order. Okay, it works quite okay, but at the moment our stimulus controller works only with our list update URL. And we also want to be able to sort our tasks within a list and tasks between lists. So let's approach this again one by one. Let's make it so that we can also order tasks within a list. To do this, I'm going to add data sortable to this list, to the list of tasks. And here in the way I had data sortable ID, list ID, I'm going to have data sortable ID, task ID. And let's see how it works. So I refresh, and well, it's going to be actually quite strange, because if now I try to sort tasks, it tries to make a request to our lists controller to sort there, and it's kind of wrong. It should make a request to the tasks sort controller. So let's do something similar for our tasks. I'm going to say that we're going to also have a sort action inside our tasks. So let's go to tasks controller, and here I will have an empty action def sort, and here I will have a debugger. And now you see we need this URL inside our sortable controller to be kind of dynamic. So why are we actually passing the ID? Why do we need just the ID? We need the whole URL to be passed. So let's try passing inside our data sortable, not just the ID of an element, but a URL to update the element. So the URL in this case would be sort list path. I'm not sure what the syntax would be. Let's say Rails roots grep sort. Yeah, it would be sort list path, sort list path at list. Okay. And now instead of getting the sortable ID, it would be sortable URL, or whatever you could name it, like sortable update URL. Yeah, I would make it here, sortable update URL. Let's make it update URL. And let's see if we can get this value. So let's go back to our lists. I will try to move a list. Okay, here I have the whole URL. So here, instead of having this inserting the ID of a list, we can just have a dynamic URL. Let's say variable sortable update URL equals event item dataset sortable URL. So we can use it here, and we can use it here. Much cleaner. Let's see if this works for our lists. Yeah, so I'm going to move the first to be last, refresh, and it worked. Okay, so this like dynamic URL setting on an element level works for us now. Let's do something similar for our tasks. So I'm going to have data update URL sort task path, and here we'll have task. Okay, let's try sorting tasks. So you see we've already added sortable, we have added the URL. I will try moving a task, and you see it has the task URL, and I have hit the debugger. So let's say params, and we have the row order position, the new row order position, we have the ID of the element. So looks fine. Let's try first sorting tasks within a list. It's what we're gonna do now. So let's say, let's go to our tasks and list controllers. I will just copy this and do it for our tasks. So task equals task find params ID, task update row order position, had no content. This should actually work. So the same stuff as for lists for the moment, because at the moment we are not sorting tasks between lists. Okay, let's continue and try sorting. So first I want to, in the morning, to drink my coffee, then I'm going to walk my dog, then I'm gonna record a video, and then kiss my wife. I'm refreshing, and you see, for the elements that I have changed, the order has been updated. I can change these. Order has been updated. This one will be first. I refresh, and you see the order has been updated. Okay, so sorting tasks within a list works, and sorting lists. Let me refresh now. So 1, 3, 2. I refresh. You see 1, 3, 2. It works. And yeah, looks quite good. Let's save our changes. Git add all. Git commit main. Sort tasks within list. Okay, and now we need a way to move tasks between lists. Let's see how this is done in the Sortable documentation. So here are like some examples of Sortable.js. So just sorting elements, shared list. I think this is something like what we need. So you see, we have two sortable elements, and they have the group shared. Yeah, what if we add this group shared to our stimulus controller? Let's go to our stimulus controller, and we have the on end, and we will add the group shared. And let's go back to our app. Okay, Rails server. And let's try moving a task. So I can move a task. Yeah, you see, at this way, a task can be on the same level as a list or within another list. So yeah, I can just move tasks and lists freely, and even I think a list can be within a task, whatever. Yeah, you see. So this isn't what I'm trying to achieve. And what will actually happen if I refresh the page? You see, tasks will anyway end up within the same list they were in initially, because at the moment inside the task controller action, we don't actually have a way to update the list of the task. So we would first of all need to also pass in the ID of the new list, and second of all we would have to say that we need to be able to sort tasks only within tasks, not within groups. So how can we achieve this? I think here there is a toAction. So inside Sortable we have event to. So it is a target list if we're moving from one list to another. So let's try accessing this. I will say console.log event.to. Let's see. I will go back to our app and I'm moving like a task to this list. Event 2. And let's get a dataset of this 2 element. Event 2.dataset. Let's see. Event 2 dataset. Yeah. So we would need to have a list ID somewhere. So let me go back to our list. And here we're going to pass some kind of like data, sortable, list ID. And it would be the list.id. Let's see if this works. So I'm going to try to move a task to another list. And here you see we have the sortable list ID. So we are moving a task to list with the ID 2. Now I will try to move it to a list with the ID 3. And yeah, it works. So let's get the basically this is going to be the ID of the new parent of a task. Okay, so event 2 dataset sortable list ID. And we're going to also pass it inside our body if it is present. So let's say variable sortable list ID equals event to dataset sortable list ID if it is present. And we're going to also pass it here inside our stimulus controller as list ID equals sortable list ID. Let's see if we can access it. So I will try to go to our, first let me just check if everything works with the lists. Okay, sorting lists works as before, but you see we have undefined, let me refresh. I will move a list and you see we have undefined sortable list ID. This is normal because we have set it only for the tasks. Okay, so let's go to our tasks and try moving a task. You see we have our sortable list ID 2, and let's get it inside our tasks controller. So we'll have a debugger. Once again, I will move a task to another controller and to another list. And let's say params, and you see in the params we have the list ID. So we can also update it here. We're going to say list ID equals params list ID. Okay, let's see if it works now. So you see we are passing the list ID for the task, and I'm going to try to move a task to another list. I refresh and you see it works. I'll try moving another task, refresh, and it works. I move tasks within the list and it works. But you see we still have this like awful experience of being able to move a task within like on the same level as a list. So we are going to also have a conditional group. And we are not going to set the group on our lists. We're going to set the group only on the tasks. So I'm going to say static values, and here we'll have group will be string, and we're going to say group will be this dot group value. And inside our sortable here we're going to say that we're going to set the group value. So we're going to set the group only for the tasks. Data sortable group value equals tasks. So tasks can be sorted only within tasks, not within everything. Let's see if it works. Okay, I'm trying to move a task within a list, and you see I can't move it on the same level. I can move it only into a list. And yeah, this works. So actually this is all the functionality. So we have a list of lists that can be ordered. We've got tasks that can be moved within lists and within a single list. Whenever I refresh, all the ordering is persisted. And as I had promised on the beginning of the video to make it look more or less as Trello, you see now we have our lists in a vertical order, and you would just want to make them horizontal. So let me just save our changes, git status, git add all, git commit message, move tasks between lists. Okay, and yeah, I would just need to add some CSS to make the lists not vertical but horizontal. And I think I would go to our lists index, and here I would have something like style display flex, and you could add some kind of width to each element, like style width 400 pixels, for example. Okay, and you can add some kind of border solid, and you see now they look of course far from the design of Trello, but already something similar. And let me try again. So first we have to do, then we will have in progress, and then done. Let me move. Okay, drinking coffee, I've done this today. I have already walked my dog. I am currently recording my video, and I still need to kiss my wife. Let me refresh, and you see all the changes have been persisted. So that's about it. I'm really happy about this one because we have gone through so many technologies like StimulusJS, RequestJS, Sortable, and yeah, that's about it. Thank you and goodbye.